Good evening, friends. We are at a stage in life when most of us have completed our applications and are looking at the best options to finance them. We at Imperial endeavor to provide you the best in terms of all the options available. Now, if I take this scenario in particular, I can broadly categorize them into four kind of financing options. The first one is the nationalized banks. They could include Bank of Baroda, State Bank of India, Bank of Maharashtra. Typically, these institutions offer secured loans at very competitive prices. They are slow, but they do have an 80E tax benefit as well. Somewhere our parents are more, adapted to go to the bank and get loans from these. So in case you're looking at any kind of, and for that matter, right now, many of the banks have different interest pricing for different universities. So for example, Bank of Baroda has a list of about 500 universities where you can go as low as 9.05% for the girl child and 9.55% for the guy child. Apart from this, the second broad category is the NBFs, which is non-banking finance corporations. The market leader here is Credila. They're very good, accredited, followed by Intred, Avance, Auxilo. If you're looking at an unsecured loan, they are the best places to go. Typically, they provide loan for about anywhere up to maximum about 40-45 lakhs. Their typical interest rate is about 11% to about 12.5%. They are very strong. They do provide secured loans as well, but from my side, I can say they may not be as cost competitive as the nationalized banks. In terms of service, they're definitely better. They do door-to-door service, and invariably they are more aggressive in the market. They do accept GRE scores for unsecured at anywhere above 300, 305 plus. So that's the second option, friends, which we have to look at, education option. The third option available currently in the market are international financial organizations like Empower and Prodigy. These people they have basically non-collateral loan and non-cosigner, which means most of them have a list of universities, about 100 to 200 in number. If we as students qualify for these universities, they would provide us loan generally to the tune of about $50,000 US, $25,000 each semester, which means that if my parents are retired, I do not have they do not have savings or loans or a mortgage property, but I still look at applying to the US, a good credible university. My options are there. So I can strongly recommend you look at them. In terms of cost competitiveness, they start at about 9% to 11% in dollar terms. They are expensive. Their entire process is digital, which means it's online, which means it's fast. So disbursal takes a week maximum to get this loan through. The fourth option, which you can look at, if you have somebody in the US who is either a green card holder or a US citizen, you can look at, say, a guy becoming a co-signer. Banks like Sallie Mae, Citizen, SunTrust provide loans to international students with valid co-signers. The benefits, the interest rate is as low as 3%, generally ranging between 3 to 5. Their processing is fast. There is no processing fee involved. Typically, it gets on your social security number, which provides you a credit kind of a history. So there are immense benefits if you have somebody in the US. However, majority of us don't, so this option is limited. The second point of view is the comparison between the two major sources of funds, which is the nationalized banks versus the non-banking finance corporations. So if I can run you through pros and cons of the same, in terms of speed, you look at non-banking finance corporations are definitely faster. The process is more streamlined. In terms of cost, the banks have distinct advantage. They can go as low as I said 9.05 to say 10.5, whereas NBFCs will go from 10.5 to say 11.5. Third aspect is the processing fees. The NBFCs do have a processing fee 1%. Most of them, they have a compulsory one. Banks generally have either a processing fee, either is adjustable in the amount like BOB, or as SBI has about 10,000 plus service tax, which is hardly any amount. The fourth, that's where the banks have an advantage. In terms of, say, the margin money. Now, the margin money concept is that suppose if your I-20 value is $50,000 and the banks ask you to keep a margin money of 10%, which means that you have to finance your education by $5,000 through personal funds and $45,000 through the bank loan. In case of, so the nationalized banks do insist on having some sort of margin money in play. So if you're looking to fund your total education, I think NBFCs will be able to fund you up to 100% of your I-20 value. In terms of interest flexibility, during a very important point here is during the time of the 2-year study, do I repay my interest or can I get it waived out? Currently, both the leading banks, SBI and BOB, have the variability wherein you can kind of choose to repay your interest later when you start working with a moratorium period of 6 months. Many other public sector banks or cooperative banks might not have this facility as on date. The non-banking finance group has complete flexibility on the repayment. So if you choose to repay it later, it's 100% there. Most of the nationalized banks only give secured loans. They give unsecured loans to the tune of 7.5 lakhs, which is very less to finance our education in the US. Non-banking finances give loans up to about 35-40 lakhs. Say, these are my points of consideration. So it depends, nothing is good or bad. It depends where you are looking at and what suits you the best. Then in terms of scholarships available, now there are many institutions, there are many dedicated religious organizations who offer loans or offer institutions. So I know, for example, a Jain Sangh, which offers loans to students without interest. In terms of Government of India, there is not any concrete student or any kind of concrete scholarship available to study abroad. There are a few minority provisions in place, which you can ask the nationalized banks for sure. Yes, one advantage is that the girl's child gets a 0.5% leverage over the guy child. That's how they structure it. But in the US, if you're looking at scholarships typically Indian international students also don't get federal scholarships, which are the main scholarships in the US. You do get after a while you are able to recover a part of the amount through your research assistantship, GAs, OTAs. The another more aspect is the do's and don'ts or the time to look at the visa. So my strong suggestion will be you start looking at your options as soon as you get all your admits, wherein you can probably start looking at collecting the entire set of document files or entire set of documents which are required for the application for your loan as soon as you start moving your admits. So the good time will be now, which is February, March. And you can be ready for application as soon as you have finalized your admit. May not be to the I-20 level, but finalized your admit. See, there are many institutions or many NBFCs who accept or provide you loans without acceptance or without finalizing a university. Now, this could have two ways. One, yes, it gives you access or gives you mental peace before. But second, you could have negotiated a better interest rate based on the kind of college or score you have. So, but majority of the nationalized banks do require you to at least freeze on a particular college before starting their applications. You start now in terms of, say, in the next 2-3 months. The general, keep a time frame of a month for the nationalized banks and at least 15 days for the NBFCs. And say the prodigies empower about 7 days to get your complete processing through. So say if you get your final or you finalize your admit, say by April mid, you still have from April mid to the first 15th of May or June before you, because generally you fly in July or August. So by the 15th of April to say mid-May, you can actually do your entire loan application and you can keep it ready for disbursal. Now, in terms of do's and don'ts, please do not overcommit or just to a single person who gives the first available loan option. Look at all the options available. There are 3-4 of them. Spend some time on it. Don't look at the most convenient option because it may not be the most cost effective and best for you. Look at options, negotiate well with all the players involved. All of them are competing for business, so it's a consumer market right now, so you can look at that. In terms of get your CIBIL scores or parents' CIBIL scores in order. Now that's a very important thing. Small minor things like credit card payments not done on time can affect your or your parents' CIBIL score. So I can suggest to you right straight away, go to the CIBIL website and get a dummy score. I guess you pay about 500 or 1000 rupees. Get their dummy scores out. In case they have certain issues or certain minor, say some credit card default payments or certain delay in payment or small things, small dues can affect your credit score. So get that in order. And invariably that would help you to get the loan in terms of processing faster. Do not release the processing check on the first go itself. Look at all your pros and cons. So this is the brief about do's and don'ts involved, when you're looking at your education loan or funding your education space. We as Imperial have put together a portal called EduLoans, which combines all these 6-7 players, and you can have a comparability on the same. And we look forward to hear from you. In case you have any doubts, I will be available on our webpage and keep updating. And any questions which you have or any doubts which you have regarding your education loan can be addressed to us. Thank you.